Welcome to a new episode of Outside the Panels with your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes.
Everyone to an episode of Outside the Panels. I'm your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes, and as everybody knows by now, I love a good Kickstarter. I like one thing more than a good Kickstarter. It's several good Kickstarters. And the gentleman I'm about to speak to is a veteran of many. An up-and-coming star who I think is going to be fantastic. It is. Welcome back to Wells Thompson.
Hey, how's it going?
How's it going, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing great. Yeah.
Excellent. I had a quick look at your current Kickstarter before I came on the air. At the time of recording, you were doing extremely well.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Let's just have a quick scoot. You are currently sitting at $9,000 of your 10,000 goal.
Mm-hmm.
You have 206 backers and a whopping great, at time of recording, 22 days left to go.
Yeah, no, it's been one full week plus maybe a day since we launched. And yeah, this is our strongest launch ever for sure.
How does that make you feel? Just so much impact straight away.
Pretty good. Yeah. Gotta say, it's a good feeling. Hope this continues.
Yeah, excellent. So this book's slightly different than the last time we were on the show. Right?
Yeah, no, I've been talking to people. Everyone says like, yeah, you don't really seem to have like one genre that you work in. I think I have like some form of creative ADHD. Like I just want to work in everything, and
right, okay.
Every time I have a new idea, it's like a completely new, different genre.
So let me ask a question then, because I mean, your body of work is quite diverse for sure. You've got I always get the name wrong of this. Mechaton.
Correct.
Yeah, you got the Frankenstein book.
Frankenstein the Unconquered, absolutely.
Yeah, and now we're going to talk about the Cat Skin and the Rose.
Yes.
Which is a romantic novel.
Yeah, it's an adventure romance. Yeah.
How I mean, you mentioned creativity.
Yeah.
I know that's a tad glib, but I totally get that.
Sure.
But then how do these really separate ideas end up forming some coalescence? You think, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to, how does that kind of work for you?
Yeah, I've tried to pin down like, where do ideas come from, and how do and I've just kind of learned to accept that they come when they come, and there's no rhyme or reason to it.
Okay.
Sometimes it's as simple as just a really powerful image that I want to kind of expand on and explore that space in that world, which is sort of how this book started with one of the A cover there. That was sort of the central image that I started with. And was like, okay, who are these characters? What is this world? How do we expand this? How do we make this happen? And sometimes it's certain characters that I'm like, I would love to talk about them for a little while. Sometimes I start with a really like compelling like premise or story hook, and I'm just like, I need to talk more about that. Yeah, for this one, it was actually it originated as a prompt about a year ago. A anthology appeared on Kickstarter, and before then, the prompts went out like, "Hey, we're doing this anthology about this," and it was Sharp Wit and the Company of Women. They put out a prompt that was like, okay, women with swords, do whatever you want with that. And I was like, that's a fun idea. Okay, what would I do with that? And I sort of had this image of like, okay, how could you in 4 pages like make a story where 2 people convincingly like fall in love during a sword fight? And that was an interesting thought to me. Turns out, no, you can't do that in 4 pages, but you can do it in 68. So
don't tell the Zorro movie that, for Christ's sakes. So do you have a likening for the kind of historical elements that are in this book? Is this kind of your forte, or is it something you researched to get into the?
I wouldn't say that. It was more of like, I mean, if there's any like history, I don't know if there's really a historical allegory. We wanted to do something that was like typical fantasy, but different in our own way. So we didn't want to do like gray castles and like European medieval. If anything, like I would say, if you've read A Song of Ice and Fire, like this region feels a lot like Dorne. The more, I guess, pertinent media that I always go back to is this feels like The Princess Bride to me. Just like sort of beyond a place. It's just kind of this kind of fairy tale story.
Yeah, with enough information that people recognize it, but they're not quite sure what they recognize it as. It could be what, yeah.
No, I mean, there's places, and most of what we pulled from ultimately does pull from like Morocco and Egypt and like Syria and Lebanon and sort of that, Mediterranean area. But like, we one of the aesthetics I wanted to pull from was like the Gerudo from Ocarina of Time. From The Legend of Zelda, which is like one of my favorite aesthetics in a video game. And we talked a little bit about like some of the architecture found in like Aladdin, for example, which one of the sample pages really does kind of look like that. But so there was a lot of talk about like that, not in terms of like this is the historical place, but like this is sort of the fairy tale aesthetic we want to pull from.
Yeah. So we've talked about we've talked about the book in general terms. Let's break it down to its main beat. It's a love story, an action story between
these two very poor sword fighters, Iselda and Camille. They come from different parts of the world. Iselda is a part of the culture that we're currently exploring. She is the part of lower caste called the Catskin. And this is basically like her one shot at getting out of that life. So far it's been, pick up a sword and defend myself and get really good at surviving doing that. So trying to translate those skills into something that's going to get her out of it. She meets Camille in the pit, and Camille is a similar background where she grew up poor in more of like a rural farming scenario and is just looking for something better. And then as they fight, they gain this respect for each other. They see that they're more similar than they are different, and things get a little bit more intense as it goes.
Judging the book by the cover as we are. All right. Okay. So on the blurb on the Kickstarter, it mentions obviously, the two ladies. That's fine. Everyone's cool with that. So how did you come up with the idea of having two female leads then? Because normally it would be kind of the stereotypical. I mentioned Zorro earlier. I mentioned Zorro, didn't I? And there's the Zorro in these girlfriends, and people like Sinbad. There's always the heroine that needs, kind of rescuing. What was it that made you think, well, hold on, let's turn it around and just have two female characters?
I mean, part of it was that initial prompt because that Shark Wit and the Company of Women is an explicitly queer book, and that was sort of where that sprung from. Also, it was the premise of the book is this tournament, the winner is going to marry into the royal family, is going to marry the prince, and that doesn't work. Given that, like, historically marriage is a political like maneuver, and particularly when it comes to like royalty is like figure to further a bloodline. It wouldn't work if there were male contestants in it as well. Which is part of kind of what we're commenting on is the sort of very like patriarchal and heteronormative way that the society functions versus the reality of these women
Yeah.
experiencing like an actual connection.
Yes, I mean it's a really interesting point you brought up there, Wells, because I went through the 80s. I lived through the 80s.
Sure.
That happened. It seemed to me that every other movie that I went to see in the movies had two female characters getting it on, whether it be Double Impact with Jean-Claude Van Damme, Basic Instinct with Sharon Stone. There's a whole spate using it for kind of, I suppose, titillation and to drag people in to the cinema. And I went on a bit of a rant at the time, and I said something along the lines of, I've got no problem with female characters doing whatever with female characters. I just wish Hollywood had the guts to do it with male characters.
Yeah.
It's like, if two people are going to fall for each other, why is it always the thigh-high bad girls? Why is it not always the muscular blokes? Well, it's taken from the 80s to now to even still consider the idea that the book for the premise of the winning of the tournament,
sure,
it has to be a woman that wins. So therefore, because obviously, princes aren't going to marry other princes.
Right.
Unless the Spin Doctors did get it right in the first
And I mean, I think there's a different context where that could work for sure. But yeah, in the way for the kind of like society that we wanted to critique and that it didn't make sense to like put that dynamic in there. That said, I would love to see an alternate where it's a princess that they're marrying into and it's two guys sword fighting. That would be fun as well. It was just sort of the I sort of started with the characters and wanting to get them to have their dynamic clash off of each other, and not necessarily I do this a lot actually, where I start with like what the character is and don't really give a lot of thought to what gender they are beyond, is this a story about a straight white dude? And if so, can we make it not that? Because I get really, I've read stories about guys that look and act and think are basically me my entire life, and I'm very bored of it. I want to hear and tell stories about people that look different from me. Cool. And that's part of the reason why this story appealed to me the way that it did.
Let me ask then, if you're interested in writing about characters that don't look like you, how hard is it to write for that character?
I mean, there's definitely like you have to take extra steps to be cautious, making sure you're not being insensitive, making sure you're getting things right and not playing into stereotypes or anything.
I must admit, before you go any further, I absolutely, I look through the Kickstarter. We'll have a look at the pages in a little while. There's a panel of Camille, and she's banding, right? And I absolutely was so impressed by that picture. Not because I mean it's great art. It is great art, but it just has that level of awareness to it. Because I mean, you look back at Mulan, for example. Right. Mulan has to band. You look at Yentl, the movie with Barbara Streisand. She has to band. I've got people in my life who have are living a kind of trans state at the moment,
right? And
they're banned, and to see it represented, I've got to say, hats off, man. I absolutely was. It was well noted from my perspective.
Yeah, that was
when you went that route
for sure. That was a design note from Rachel when she drew the character. She added that on, and I was like, perfect. Yes, that makes perfect sense. Cool. And that was the other thing was like doing this book. I wanted as many like representative voices as possible. So aside from just like Rachel is a brilliant artist, but I went out of my way to be like, let's find an artist that is sapphic in their own right, a letterer that is that, an editor cover artists. Like I wanted as much of that as possible, partially so that if at any point I was going astray, they could catch me on my bullshit.
Yeah, that's a really brave thing to do. Absolutely.
For sure. No, but I mean, it's, you know, this is a Sapphic story, and I wanted Sapphic voices telling it as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that excludes me, but you know, I can't.
Does it? See,
I mean, I'm married to a woman, I suppose. But...
No, me too. But here's the thing. Here's the thing for me, and I've seen a lot over the last few years. There's been a whole host of different relationship type books. When I think of same sex relationship books, my mind goes to Sunstone, Stefan Sejic's gorgeous book.
Yeah, I've been reading that recently, and it is so incredible.
You take away the smoke and the mirrors of the bondage,
right?
Yeah.
No, it's just like
it's two people in love.
An incredibly beautiful love story. Yeah.
Yes, I tell this to everybody who says, "Oh, you know, read something." I might read Sunstone, and they look at the cover. Oh no, it's sex. Well, yeah, it's in there, but you don't from the first page. Where Lisa's saying here's the story about the love of my life, and she knows that sounds boring, so it's like, oh no, it's got lesbians. You're like, oh okay.
The way I introduced it to my wife, I was like, hey, you should really read this. She's like, I don't know if this is my kind of book. I'm like, it's like it feels like the first time you ever fell in love. But instead of being a teenager, you're, you know, in your 20s and trying to figure out bondage. Like,
and that's the core point. That's the core point. And this is the point I'm trying to make is that I get that it's sapphic, and I get the elements of the characters, but in my head,
sure.
I'm sorry to say, love is just love. You know?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's definitely
if you've experienced that, then you can write about it, right?
To an extent, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that like there's always value in getting a real perspective on it.
Agreed.
Because they, you know, people who have lived experience will be able to add a lot of texture and nuance to it. But yeah, I definitely don't like. I think write what you know, but that doesn't mean like wall yourself off from writing diverse characters and writing like, you know, people that don't necessarily look or behave like you. And
I mean, the whole. I mean, if we just put a pin in that for 2 seconds,
sure.
You're writing a story about swords people, right? Does that mean you went out and take sword lessons?
God no. No. I do some archery, but I've never done sword stuff.
You found the next green arrow. DC, look no further.
I got
My name is Wells Thompson, and I have written. Sorry, couldn't resist.
All good. No, I mean, yeah, it's more to me just like this was a really fun book to write about a relationship and you know this sort of bold adventure story that I've never really taken a crack at writing before. Again, very Princess Bride, very over the top romance fantasy kind of thing that I think if I told in my early 20s, if I had said, hey, you're going to write this, I would have laughed and or punched me because it seems so far removed from anything that I wanted to do.
You're not writing this. All right. Before we have a look at the Kickstarter and some other stuff, time for one of our adverts for one of our other shows. Where should we go? Where should we go? Are you a big fan of K-pop?
You know, actually, I do like some K-pop. So
really, check it out. K-pop Cosmos coming your way. K-pop Cosmos with monthly show, Marky Mark and Freya to take you through everything that looks like boy bands and Power Rangers all together. Yes, I know I said it. It's stereotypical. I am sorry. Yeah. It's Freya's fault. She promised me when she said, I'm doing a K-pop advert, don't worry, they all wear fishnets. I was like, yes! And then no fishnets in the whole advert, man. It's like, Freya, you've let me down.
Oh, false advertising.
Yeah, hell yeah. All right. I only mention it because every time I watch anime, it seems to be thigh highs and short skirts all over. What am I? I don't know. What do I know? Anyway, let's have a look at the Kickstarter. And there we have it. This is the gorgeous Kickstarter. I'm based in the UK, so hence
Right.
it's pounds. So we can convert it there. It's 9,000 out of 10 as we go. 206 backers. That's great. You are hugely successful when it comes to Kickstarters. How many have you done now?
This would be my 8th campaign.
All fully funded?
All but one. The last one we did, unfortunately, fell short. It was a massive goal. It was a big leap for us, and we're looking to revive it at some point. But other than that, yeah, we've had 6 out of 7 successes, going on 8, or going on 7 out of 8. So really excited to be doing this book. This is also like, this would have been a big leap for us if not for the fact that we had just done the last book. So we're really excited that people are taking to this one as strongly as they are.
I say this a lot, but it's a testament to your brand, Wells, that you have name recognition, you've got brand recognition now, right?
Thank you.
And the fact, to get any traction on Kickstarter, I think is massive because it's such a popular.
It's a task. It's for sure not the easy. It's not for the faint of heart.
Well, that's put me off writing my book. All right, okay. All right. So you have the story. Great cover. There we go.
Thank you. Yeah, and we have 2 covers for this one, which I'll get into more of what that entails later. But Fellhound and Skylar Patridge have both done a cover for this one, and they're both gorgeous. And I can't decide which one I like better a lot of the time.
Well, it's funny because the main one, the one we've seen already, has like an anime feel a little bit, especially around Camille's face, where the other one seems a little bit more dreamscape.
Yeah, Fell's style has gotten a lot softer since Commander Morale, and I do really like it. I do really love the sort of rounded edges that she's come to explore in her art. But I think both capture the feel of the book really, really well. So.
Yes, it's interesting because I know it's mainly a metaphor. The idea of they want to get out of the lives that they live in, the poverty-driven lives, and to do that, they've got to do something they might not like to do, like marry the prince if one of them survives or not. But that's the quite desperation that so many people live their life as, isn't it? The fact that they're doing these things on a daily that they don't particularly want to do. So it's a nice, I suppose, metaphor through there. Here's some pages. I was going to show this earlier, but there you go.
Rachel Dissler doing the line art and the colors there. Keela Savall is doing the letters as well. I don't have those posted up yet.
I was going to say she got a cheap deal there, didn't she? Whoa.
No, we are planning on posting the letters. We just wanted to let the art speak for itself for a little while.
I agree. I no disrespect to letterers, because letterers know how much I absolutely promote their work left, right, and center, especially on reviews like Comic Crusaders. Every letterer, if credited in the book, gets a credit from me, and they get a comment on the work. On top of that, I started a little bit of a mini campaign for my own head that letterers should be on the covers of comic books.
No, I agree. No, we always put the full team on the cover.
That said, I don't think letterers, when you do like a Kickstarter advert, I don't think letterers need to be there, because I think they can take some of the context of the story.
Sure, yeah, no,
they don't give too much away story-wise, and that's
you don't want to give too much away at that point.
Exactly, and that's not a comment aimed at any particular letter. It's just kind of the way I want to experience it in the whole thing. I don't want to get like bits and bobs. very
For
very
sure.
faces, some manga style with the eyes there, very good.
Yeah, the amount of panic that Rachel is able to bestow in that character, I love it.
Definitely, that is a look of attraction there.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
No, again, like I think the letters, I obviously am biased because I wrote the dialogue and the script, but I think they add a lot. But it does go to show, like, you don't need letters there to kind of get the sense of what's going on.
Yeah. And there we have the Bandon for
Yeah.
Camille, which we mentioned earlier. Very, very good choice. It's interesting how Camille, when dressed formally, has more of a masculine pose, but then when you see the more, I suppose, getting ready, the undressed version, you can see that there are curves to that situation.
Right.
So it's interesting that Rachel's gone down that way to kind of keep everything. So, like, it's kind of like, I don't want to say like taking off your cowl, but it's kind of like that, isn't it? They're kind of like he's taking off. She's taking off her like not a disguise. She's taking off one aspect.
I'll say I wanted her look to seem very guarded in a lot of ways. So long sleeves and like that bandaging up to the neck. Part of that is to keep her safe. Part of that is from she's like, this takes place in a desert location, and she is from a much cooler climate. So that's like the way she dresses is just a lot less practical for the setting. And also, like, that is her character. She is she doesn't let a lot of people in. So so having that sort of guarded look was really important to kind of seeing the character for who she was.
So I've said this before when we've chatted. I always think of writers as kind of mini editors. How much do you kind of deal with Rachel when she produces the work, and you think, yes, it looks gorgeous, it blows me away, but or do you just?
I mean, every now and then, for sure.
Do you go free rein and say, knock yourselves out?
Oh, I mean, I want artists to have, as much sway over the story as they feel comfortable with. But I absolutely, if I feel like something is rubbing up against like the overall sort of vision or tone, then I'll definitely point it out. And there have been a couple of times where I've been like, hey, this might work better if we do this, or this is what I had in mind for the scene. And it's usually I see what you mean, and it gets fixed immediately. So we gel pretty well as a creative team.
Prince Damien, your standard stereotypical guy, all muscles and chest, and he's got his necklace thing going on. Yeah,
he's definitely like a bit of a masculine archetype, and definitely has that like cocky arrogance to him. He's been told he's royalty and he's special his entire life, and that definitely went to his head. People are definitely things to him. So it's I like him as the antagonist of this story quite a bit. And then we learn, through the story of this tournament is how every sort of royal spouse is chosen. So the queen is the person who won the previous tournament. And she sort of stands as this like symbol of what either of these characters could become if they win, or if they choose to kind of follow in her footsteps.
Interesting. I will say shades of Nichols around the face there.
Sure, I can see.
No, that's a bad thing.
Yeah, no. No, I love the design for that character. And actually, once I saw that, we wound up writing a short script that we're hoping to get to make through the stretch goals. That is more personal about like the queen and her role in all of this.
Yeah, it's interesting because I suppose I don't want to. I mean, don't tell me if I'm wrong or right, but there's like a couple of ways you can go with a character who's the existing queen. At one point she's suffered to get to that point,
for sure,
and now she's complicit in driving other people to do.
Oh,
that.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you kind of like got a nice little juxtaposition going on between what she had to do versus what she still allows to happen. So
absolutely.
I mean, don't tell me that I'm right. But I'm right. Okay, I'm joking. I don't know anything. So let's have a look at the rewards. Pledge a
Absolutely.
pound because you like it. Good call. I like that one. Digital copy, high quality PDF of Catskill and the Rose. Let's see, pledge 15.
Yeah, we
for
don't
that.
really have a page as much of a page constraint on this one as we
Yeah.
do for like single issues. So if you pledge at that level or above, you get your name in the book on the thank you
Cool.
page. So
Excellent. Physical copies. I say this every time I talk about Kickstarters. Anywhere in the world, and this is for me. First of all, you've got the digital version, which I think works brilliantly for transatlantic readers such as myself, because I don't mind dropping money on a Kickstarter. I do mind paying 3 times the price that I've pledged.
Yeah, it's a major pain. I don't like charging. I found some ways of cutting costs on international shipping, so so that I don't have to put that cost onto the buyer, as well as anyone who pledges internationally and gets something shipped to them. I will sign all of your books for free. That's normally a $10 charge. So we do what we can to incentivize that, but. Absolutely, if you're international, I totally understand not wanting to spend all that money on shipping.
Yeah, because they're interested in the book and stuff.
Absolutely.
The variant cover,
the variant cover also is going to come with a lot of back matter. So you'll get character sheets, you'll get page breakdowns. If we fund those comics, those will wind up in there. Probably some more stuff that we'll come up with. We want to really flesh out the making of the book through that back matter, and give people something substantial for backing it at a higher level. So
I love back matter. I love graphics where you get like tons of stuff at the back about how things were developed. Sure. Absolutely, one of my things. Probably the only thing I really like about sometimes trade paperbacks, because I'm a floppy kind of guy. No, don't look at me like that. I like the comic books. Didn't mean anything untoward. Don't put words in my mouth.
You're allowed to to read however you'd like. I do think the trades are just superior, but it is what it is. But I mean, I make floppies same as everyone. So
I like the extra stuff you get with the trade. What I don't like is when you've got to do that with it to get like the full double page.
I will say
because the art bleeds into the spine, and you're like.
When the producers don't take into account the fact that this was on a very flat page and now it's got a spine on it, that is a problem. I agree.
It's a preference thing, isn't it? Yeah. I just like the fact how you just mentioned you do floppies as well, so this is what you're catering for every reader type. So I think that's a really good call.
Absolutely. Well. We also have a hollow foil cover because that was mostly born out of like Skylar Patch's art is just so beautiful. Like we wanted to just do something to like really heighten that. So we put it on hollow foil. We made it a virgin cover to just emphasize that even more. And then in the everything, you get all of our related add-ons and all the copies of the books at a 20% discount. So you end up saving $20 if you get the everything versus pricing it all out.
Man. And you've already got backers on that as well, so that's impressive. Oh, yeah. So that's really impressive. Cool.
And then we had an early bird special for the first 48 hours. So if you none of those are left, but if you really like the idea, then be sure to follow me in my future projects, because I always have an early bird special to incentivize people to come back.
There's still 4 the early bird special edition variants out there.
Well,
according to Kickstarter,
four were unclaimed, but they have timed out at this point. So, unfortunately,
no, what a shame. All right, cool.
What a shame indeed.
Let's see the pledges. So what you have?
Yeah, and then under that, I've got add-ons as well. So you can. We had commission tiers as well, but they have sold out, fortunately.
Unbelievable. It's just you've put so much thought and effort into it. As you do with every project. You don't come into this You know, you've never come into these things
Yeah,
half-assed.
I'll say loudly, like, I want this to be my full-time job. I'd
Yeah.
much rather do this than serve tables. So if this is the kind of thing you guys like, please support so that I can continue to do it.
Oh, man.
Yeah, this is our first time we're doing an enamel pen, and it is selling like crazy. People really like it.
I think I'm gonna fanboy here a second. So
Sure.
try not to get too embarrassed. I see a lot of comic books, and I speak to a lot of comic book creators, as you know, right? Wells, the fact is, you know, we spoke before. You're an absolute gem of a talent.
Oh,
You know,
thank you.
to take diverse ideas. You know, you've had your fun books, you've had your horror books. Now we talk about action romance books. You know, you're taking the right steps to make sure there's a level of validity to the relationship between the characters. So you're not coming across as sleazy or sexist or any of those other type of terms that kind of can get bandied around when anyone does anything a little bit more risque. You know, so you know. The writing aside, just put that to one side, as fantastic as that is. I think you need to give yourself a bit of a round of applause, a bit of a pat on the back for just your overall common sense when it comes to the business as a whole. You know, that's like two different skill sets, and you're killing both of them, man. You're doing brilliantly.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I put as much work as I can into making sure that like as many people are. Sorry.
It's all right.
As many people are
like... that effect on loads of people, don't worry about it.
It's not you, it's my sleep schedule. It's all messed up. But yeah, just making sure that like as many people are welcome to the table as possible. And you know, whether it's a backer who is, you know, can't afford to get, you know, the everything tier. So we have the digital, we have the standard print and everything for them. Or someone who really wants to support the tier, we have lots of incentives to make sure that people feel comfortable and feel like they're getting their money's worth out of that. And then, yeah, in terms of just like, you know, I think it's good business to make good stories and, you know, good representation, as you said, is just common sense in a lot of ways. So yeah, I will always go as far out of my way as possible to make sure I'm working with the best team for the book possible.
Cool. Excellent. Sounds great. We're having a quick look at your website. You can find this at wellsthompson.com. Not a long name to type in there at all. But it does show your work. Contact if you want to sign up for the newsletter. Some stuff about yourself. You know, I can see you being fantastic. I can see you getting picked up by a studio massively.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm not against the idea. I could definitely put some money in my pocket.
Well, I mean, let's just go a little bit big too for a second. All right. So Kelly Thompson leaves Captain Marvel. Yeah, she leaves Captain Marvel within the space of 3 months. 2 different Image books coming out and a new DC book coming out. So, you know, these are creators who you think to yourself are just big too. They're moving into the indie world. It works the other way. Ram V on Detective Comics.
Oh my God. Ram V is such a brilliant writer. It makes me upset.
Yes. I've spoken to him a couple of times. He's really good. I interviewed him for These Savage Shores at Vault Comics. And
These Savage Shores is great. The Mini Deaths of Layla Starr is my favorite book from last year.
Stephanie Phillips.
Oh my God, such a talented editor and writer, and I'm so excited to see what she puts out.
She's gone from writing semi-historical books for Dark Horse over at the Harley. She's now working on DC. You know, I think when you're a talent, you're a talent. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
You know? And I think of all the other players who've been like with Ahoy Comics and, you know, Vault have got a range, Scout have got a range of people. Scout are great at kind of looking at Kickstarter creators and giving them their
for sure. That's Scout is where we were able to. You can see Scoot.
There you go.
Right there.
Mechaton.
That's our first big publishing deal. was
So there you go.
them picking that up. The trade comes out. I don't know exactly when, but sometime soon. We just gave them the finished letters for all 5 issues. So
Cool.
really excited to be getting that out into the world.
Good. Right. If you're interested in a Kickstarter, Wells has been kind enough to give us a short code. Check it out. Yeah, that goes wild. So yeah, that's the Kickstarter short code. Click that and that'll take you to the Kickstarter. But you know what? If you follow a Kickstarter, you know how it works. Just go to the website and type in the cat skin and the rose, and guess where you'll end up.
Or type in my name, Wells Thompson.
Yeah, I was going to say I'll type in Wells Thompson
as well.
Yeah, cool. That's not it. There is even more information. There is the website info that we talked about 2 seconds ago. And of course, if you on the website, you can link to newsletters, so you get more information about stuff as it happens. If you don't want emails and newsletters, and you're down with the old social media thumbs,
for
you
sure.
can always.
Which I'll say, as Twitter enters its truly abysmal death throes,
the twilight of Twitter.
Like that was where I was putting out most of my stuff, and it's still where I spend a lot of my time, more or less out of habit. But I think we all see it's sort of going down the tube. So I have been relying more and more on the newsletter. I've integrated over to Substack, started using notes on there, started putting out shorter, more frequent newsletters to keep people in the loop.
Cool.
So definitely that's the better way to keep in contact with me, I think.
I could say that now. I've only just got used to Twitter after 5 years. Why is it changing? It's like, why? Now I have to get an Instagram account to get threads.
Oh God, no. No, exactly. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing
that. That's exactly my wife's like, ooh, I'm on Instagram. I'm like, who'd you follow? Chris Hemsworth. I'm like, all right, okay. I'm sure he notices, bless. That's cool. There you go. So the Kickstarter's live right now. 22 days left to go. So
yeah, till August 10th.
For everybody who is waiting until payday, you've still got time. See what I did there? End of the month payday.
I see.
So you've still got time to get in there. Go to Wells's website, click the notifications for the newsletter, and any new information that comes up will come up. Just a quick shout out. The second Twitter address there, the Red Tie Bear, that is Rachel's, the artist's.
Rachel Disler, the artist, she is an integral part of this book. She had a lot of story notes and really works hard to bring the characters to life.
Cool.
So yeah, equally important. If
next
not
time,
more
bring
so.
her along.
She unfortunately she couldn't make it today, but yeah,
that's all right. I know you probably scared her off by saying a long-haired bearded Englishman's going to bug you about books.
Oh, I definitely scared her off. Yeah,
son of a. All right, okay. 30-second pitch time, Wells. Give us your 30-second pitch. Why people should pledge to the Catskin and the Rose.
Okay. The Catskin and the Rose is a 68-page sapphic graphic novel about 2 legendary duelists that catch feelings while crossing swords. It's very the Princess Bride meets Revolutionary Girl Utena. If you like adventure fantasy, if you like romance, if you like queer books, if you like sassy characters, then this is going to be one of your favorite books of the year. Cool.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Well done. Yeah, you should do something like this for a living. It's great.
Oh, if only.
If only.
If only.
Wells, it's been an absolute blast. You've been fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I appreciate that. Yeah.
No, dude, the door is always open. Always. Anytime you have a Kickstarter, you drop me a line. There's a chair pulled over for you anytime, sir. Anytime at all. All right. Don't forget to check out the UCPM for the rest of all our other shows, including K-Pop Cosmos once a month. Check it out. Boy bands and Power Rangers. That's all I'm saying. If you like your stuff more Marvel, check out the No Prize podcast, of which talk about Marvel, Disney Plus, and the MCU. So Secret Invasion's coming to an end. We'll be talking about that on the next show. For you DC fans, it's the Definitive Crusade. for all DC stuff, including the demise of the Flash movie, probably. And if you're interested in more interviews with more comic book creators, don't forget to check out the Comic Crusaders podcast. There's a whole host of great creators on there talking to Al Mega about their work. All right, there you go. All done. Ads all done. Well, it's been an absolute blast again, sir. I absolutely totally think your book is going to be fantastic. It's good. It looks great from what I've seen. The premise is brilliant. I love the whole idea of, tragedy brings forth love, brings forth tragedy and love. It's like, oh my God, where can you? But no, well done indeed. Excellent. All right, so for the rest of you all, I have been your host, John Machine Hughes, and as always, adios.
Visit undercovercapes.com for the latest and greatest podcasts via the Undercover Capes Podcast Network. Also visit our parent company website, comiccrusaders.com, all about comic pop culture.